Look at that font. Tell me this isn't a horror movie.
The way I refer to it is fuck you type.
One of the hardest rooms to do comedy in.
I feel it works better with no audience. In 2025.
We're in it.
We're fucking in it. This is also we're recording the day.
We launched today. You did it.
So much stuff.
You did so much stuff.
So much stuff. I'm so excited about it. I just as you were getting here, you walked in and I was like, I am so like a little nervous and giddy over it.
Yeah.
I think it's just something about, you know, like when I occasionally, I don't post a lot of videos on my Instagram, but when I do, there is that kind of like concentrated thrill of like, oh, I made it. Usually I made it in like, shot it one day. And maybe I did editing and some like motion graphic stuff for like 2 days, 3 days. But this has been a huge project, obviously. A huge fucking thing.
Yeah. For you.
For both of us. This is huge. We talk about this constantly.
We do talk about it a lot. There are daily texts, 3 to 20 a day.
Yeah,
about
really.
Podcasts or just general stuff that we like that we see on the internet. We do share a lot of like, oh, this is cool. Check this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny also just because like our friendship is pretty new and even like we've now hung out in front of a camera, I would say more often than we have not.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of like I think we got coffee 3 times.
Yeah, we got coffee like 3 times before we were like, you want to do a podcast together?
Yeah. Which is bizarre to contemplate.
But also I can tell there are certain people you meet in your life and you can tell, like, this happens a lot in stand-up, where you meet someone and you just immediately, you're like, oh, this is a comedian, and I'm going to be friends with this person for the rest of my life because they are a lifer. Like, I could list, like, 20 people. Like, I remember I did early on, like, did the Comedy Works in Denver, and Chris Charpentier is this great comedian, and he hosted, and we went, and we got a coffee, and I was like, yep, this guy's a comic for life. I'm a comic for life. We're friends forever. And then you just, like, you might see him, like, once every year or every 2 years, but like you shared like just that thing. Yeah. And me and you have this thing, which we originally were like, the podcast episodes will be about an hour. And everyone now is like an hour and a half or more, is we like the same shit so much that it's like, and another thing. Oh my God. We have big and another thing energy.
Totally. And I think about like every time we're still like contemplating, is this maybe an episode? And I think it took us recording even some of the like pilot episodes where we're like figuring this shit out. Yeah. I am now.
Which might be out before they hear this one.
It's true. Yeah. Those might go out when you get married.
I get married in less than 13 days and you have a baby in 14 days.
Yeah.
Or no, wait, you have a baby in like
4 weeks-ish.
4 weeks.
Yeah, well, a month from today. A month from today is when my wife is scheduled to get induced.
The day before I come home from my honeymoon, you guys are having the baby.
Yeah. So, I learned just in the editing, like putting this stuff together, like, well, we can kind of make a meal out of anything when we start talking about it.
You have the gift of gab, as the Irish would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
it's because we also love the things we love very deeply.
Yeah, absolutely. And the gift of gab thing is I think a huge part of it. And I think a lot about like the Jewish side of my family, because my mom's Irish Catholic as fuck, Mary Quigley. Yeah. And my dad is Sanders Goldman.
Both of them sound like Simpsons characters.
There's such a New York pair.
Yeah, no. You didn't have to tell me that. I knew.
Neither of them is Italian. That's the only thing I'm missing.
Yeah.
But when we bullshit together, whether it was at Highly Likely in Culver City or doing this, it just reminds me the Jewish side of my family would frequently be doing Thanksgiving together.
Yes.
And then like a lot of my cousins have all moved out to LA, so we will do like Passover stuff sometimes together. And man, is that table like a murderer's row of comedians who are not comedians. You know, it's just like, it's just bits constantly. Like the Passover Seder is like it's like a roast table.
Yeah, it's a Henny Youngman.
Yeah, absolutely. It just keeps going, and we're all cracking each other up, and it really is a frequency some people lock in on. Some people don't. I hesitate to say it is a very East Coast thing.
It is a very East Coast thing.
Right.
Yeah. It's, I mean, and you know, you meet people from other places, but like even my fiance, she's from Boston, and like, yeah, we can fucking talk.
Yeah.
You know, like we can just kind of go. Like from the first date on, it was just like, and I was like, okay, cool.
You do bits together?
No, I'm not. You know what's funny? I'm sillier with her than I am anybody else in the world. And I really like that. Cause I'm a pretty like hard on my sleeve serious guy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I heard someone say recently, and I love this so much as a comedian. Yeah, someone, I think it was like Mike Birbiglia or somebody like that, talking about comedy, where someone was like shocked that he like wasn't being funny. And he goes, yeah, comedy is a language I speak.
Oh God.
And as a comedian, nothing has resonated more to me. It's like, yeah, I'm fluent in comedy. It is not it's like my first language is sadness. The second one is comedy. And I speak comedy excellent. Like I am a native comedy speaker now because I've been doing it as longer than I haven't been doing it. But it is a language. And it's not my go-to language. It's my when I'm at work language.
Sure. You're touching on something that I've been thinking. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I contemplate this a lot as a sort of like, there's this marker right up the 10,000 hours. So you're 10 years in.
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, and you're an expert supposedly at the thing. But what I don't think is really discussed is like the 20,000 hour thing, the 20-year mark. Is for me, I'd been doing design and comedy stuff. That whatever this thing that I am, I've been doing this now semi-professionally for a better part of 20 years.
Yeah.
And I think there is a moment where disillusionment creeps in and you're like, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like I had a moment 4 or 5 years ago. It was like maybe just prior to COVID.
Yeah.
I was like, do I like any of this? I don't get anything out of this anymore. And it was a huge like transformation, right? Of like design and comedy. What the fuck am I doing this for? Do I even love this? And I had to kind of fall in love with it again. But the language part of it is like what I kind of landed on. What I realized was like, I used to love this because, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing it. Now I'm successfully doing it, and I've been successfully doing it for such a long time that there wasn't a thrill to it anymore. And now I know the language thing you're talking about is like, oh, it's a means to an end. It is a means to be creating something and connecting with people and building something. Like we don't use language because we just love to flap our gums. Like we use language.
Some people do.
Yeah. But we use language to communicate and build community and connect with people. And only in the last 2 years, I'm like, oh, everything I've ever made has been like warm up for me to like make something like this, where everything kind of like fits together in a way it couldn't fit together any other time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 1,000%. But and also that middle part you're talking about when you're like why am I even doing this? That part is usually when you've fought through all the bullshit, you are good enough at it that you are a working professional, but your life is still hard because you're not successful enough that you're making enough money where you still aren't in like fight or flight, or you're just trying to like, you've just been in survival mode for the past decade.
Totally.
Like around COVID was like two big things that helped me enjoy comedy more. Around COVID, I worked at the Punchline in Sacramento, and I had it was Christmas, the weekend before Christmas, and Delta had just dropped, and the shows were like fucking empty, and the club was the people who worked at the club were really nice. I think the booker was a little disappointed because I was supposed to do an arena in the town with the Impractical Jokers that got canceled because of COVID, and then I was going to do my headline weekend, and when I was sitting backstage, found out that a bunch of people had gotten auditions for the Comedy Store, and I didn't get one. And it hurt my feelings because I had been there every night for 5 nights a week during COVID, like 6 nights a week when the club was open and was like in the window. And I'm in this weird gray zone called a non-paid regular where I like work there, but I'm not like a full-time paid. It's this weird thing. And the guy who was opening for me was like, wow. He goes, that's so weird. I 100%. And he's like, and the person who was featuring for me was also like, yeah, that's so crazy. They are both passed now. And I still haven't gotten an audition, right? So, and that happens in comedy. Your friends get on the rocket ship and they pass you. But like not being able to sell tickets, COVID happening, and seeing people rocket past me makes you go like, what the fuck am I doing? And then the other thing I forgot, which was going to be really deep and tie this all together. I'll say this. That stuff doesn't bother me anymore because the longer I do it, the more I realize it's an endless game with myself. And like the things that used to be benchmarks to me don't really matter anymore. This matters. Creating my own stuff, doing what I'm saying, trying to say what I'm trying to say. Because we're going to talk about stand-up specials today.
Yeah.
And some of the slides are slides from my first special, which is a really, really good special. I'm really proud of it. I rewatched it for the first time like 3 years after making it.
What was it like rewatching it?
I was pleasantly surprised with myself.
Because 3 years is enough. There's like
I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
And like, there's this interesting thing. I love stand-up so much, and I deeply love it in my bones. And I love like talking about it. I love talking about the business of it, the behind the scenes, like how are we all going to get ahead? Everybody in the green room. What are we doing? How are we going forward? Yeah. I love sitting with my little legal pad. I love writing jokes. But I had this moment through therapy that I realized part of the reason I have a nice size following, especially in the past couple of weeks. I've like grown a lot. But I think part of the reason I never really moved forward and was kind of in that same like struggle zone and like, what am I doing? Like trying to figure out what I'm saying. Who am I? All that kind of stuff is that you can't build fans if you don't know who you are yourself.
Oh man, totally.
So I was in this place where like over the past 2 years, I've done a lot of therapy and I got a killer therapist. And I just got to the point where I fucking like myself now. And for years, I was like the guy who wanted to be cool. Now I'm just fucking cool. You know what I mean? Like, because I just living my life for myself and like doing what I want to do. And I'm not like trying to chase the algorithm. I'm just like, what would be fun to make?
Yeah.
Which I think makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
And now I think if you're like, want to be a creative, the most important thing is to just go out and make stuff.
Holy shit, it took me so many years to learn that.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, as of like, I learned it 2 years ago. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a year ago. Maybe a year ago I learned it.
And if you didn't just start making stuff, we wouldn't have met. We wouldn't be friends.
Absolutely. I mean, what I think about it constantly that I can't believe it took me this long to do the simplest thing, which was just like make something and then make another thing. Yeah. And then make another thing. And that's what the job is. One of the biggest lessons I learned, like circling comedy entertainment in LA for 12 years now, was that every single one of these like benchmarks or achievements or like gates kept, I thought on the other side of it is not just success, but like, oh, I won't have to fucking worry anymore. I can fail upwards.
Oh, this was
you know what I mean?
Fucking thing.
Go.
The other thing was that kind of thing. I did a Don't Tell comedy set, which one of those jokes is going viral right now.
And that's how I was introduced to your comedy.
Oh,
was
cool.
The Don't Tell set.
Yeah. And I love those guys. Those guys are great. And there was like a couple of people who really popped. And I got this set so dialed in. I was running around town. I was like having the best sets of my life. I was like, there was a night at the Improv where I thought they were going to carry me off the stage. You know what I mean? And I don't say that lightly. Like, I'm not like a pat myself on the back kind of guy. I'm like, this part didn't work, that part didn't work. And then I went in and the room was kind of cold and I was so tight because I wanted that set to change my life. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I'm going to do this and it's all going to change. I'm going to be the next Ralphie Barbosa and this thing's going to blow up and I'm going to finally not have to worry about money. Yeah. Because that's what it all boils down to.
That's absolutely what it all boils down to.
It's just like, I've been doing this forever. I've been living hand to mouth for 15 plus years, you know, paycheck to paycheck as an artist. And now, first time in my life, I have a little bit of breathing room. Or not the first time, second time. There was another time when I had a writing job when I was like very financially secure. But it's that like push and pull of like, I thought that. And then when I was holding on too tight, that's when I had to just let go. That's when I like kind of got depressed, kind of spun out, and then started going to therapy and was like, what am I actually trying to do and say here?
Yeah.
And also that set that I thought wasn't that good, I watch back and I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's not as good
so that
as
was the usual question. So
it's
how
not as
does
good
it how does it feel looking at it now?
the Don't Tell one?
Yeah. Oh no,
It's fine.
your special.
My special,
yeah.
good. My special felt really good to look at because I can see how technically proficient I am. And we made a really beautiful special for not a lot of money.
Can I ask how much a cheap special costs? Because I've seen.
Well,
I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen
mine-
clips and it looks really good.
Thank you. Mine, I thought a network was going to buy.
Sure.
So I spent like I was
And
gonna.
also, you
get
don't have to reveal the number, but if you feel comfortable ballparking,
It was like in the 30K range.
okay.
You know, which
That doesn't shock me with how
Yeah.
much has to go into
but
that.
but also it could have been less. We could have like. It was my first time doing it, and now in retrospect, like I directed one that cost like 6,000.
Mm.
You know, like in retrospect, and it looks great. In retrospect, like, and literally every dollar is on the screen because a lot of it was sweat equity. Like the people who produced mine, Coastal Creative, like gave us the space for free, and like the fucking air conditioning went out in Florida in July. And they rented one of those giant air conditioning machines and they had to turn it off. And then every time in between the shows, the two shows, they turned it back on to try to cool the room.
Oh my
But I
God.
was sweating so much. And the warm-up comic for my special is this guy who is one of my best friends. His name's Alexis Guerreros. He's an amazing comic. He was so good at warm-up. He told them, every time I pull out the napkin from the back of my pocket to dab my head during the second show, he was like, when he puts that pocket away, you guys just laugh. And they fucking did it. The crowd was the greatest. They really showed up for it. And I forgot that he told them that. Like, I didn't even know. And I did it. And the first time I was like, why the fuck are they laughing? And then I was like, oh, I love you guys. And I told him that. And it was like a big, fun love fest.
And that little thing that he did, you obviously didn't. It gassed you up. With
Yeah.
like those not unearned laughs, but just sort of like the momentum of that. It was like helped you
oh,
out.
this crowd's with me. I can like relax. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
what a
feel-
sweet thing for
Alexis.
Alexis. What a sweet thing for him to do. Just knowing just like what a safety net he gave you in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. He was like, every time he's dab, you just laugh.
That's gotta feel great.
It was awesome. And it was like a really cool experience doing it myself. My friend Mike directed it, who Mike's like, he shot the cover of Time magazine last year. He shot stuff for New York Times. He just did a campaign for Dickies, like a commercial video.
looks really
thing.
good.
Like, yeah, he knew, and he lit it all with like 5 lights.
Fuck.
Yeah. I think we have the same amount of lights in this studio as we did for my special.
I think so.
Yeah.
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 I mean, we look great.
Yeah. You did a great job. And similar, the key was a hair light.
I mean, yeah, it does help.
It does. It makes a big difference.
Because we're going to talk about comedy specials today.
Yeah. Was your idea, and I was very on board.
Yeah, because this is such a funny, like, of the Venn diagram of this is a perfect example of the overlap.
Yeah.
Of like not just like our interests, but like our experience.
Yeah.
Right. Before we even get into it, I've never performed stand up. I've done like one storyteller thing, when
Yeah.
that had like a very hot moment for
Yeah.
everybody, which is really just sort of like stand up with lower stakes.
Yeah.
But I've watched a lot of stand up in my life.
Yeah.
I think more than most casual people. Like I still collect it in my brain. You
Yeah.
know, I still am like a student of it, I guess, in a way. But the first thing I kind of want to ask you, as someone who has made a special, who is a stand-up comedian, have you ever noticed? Are there like moments when stand-up specials are
Actually feel special.
well, even just that.
Yeah.
But even just like outside the actual art form, but like when the culture is into them and when they're not into them. Because I kind of feel like
I mean,
it's swinging back towards the special.
Yes. Well, now too, every comic is producing their own special, just putting it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so somebody can have it. There can be famous comedians I've never heard of who have YouTube specials that have 20 million views, and I literally have no clue who the person is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just hip to that now too, and I can't believe because I worked at Comedy Central years ago, and stand-up specials.
You worked there in the heyday.
Yeah, I worked there post Chappelle, pre Workaholics.
That is literally like the
last.
That was like the mountaintop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Workaholics, and Broad City. I left before those both became big. But I worked on and around with a lot of like stand-up comics who were coming in and out of the office, and I cared about stand-up comedy so much. But yeah, I mean that was so okay. So have the America's appetite for specials changed, or have you watched it change?
No, my comedy, my whole life, comedy has always been popular. It's never. And maybe it's just from where I'm sitting, but the earliest specials I can remember being really popular are Chris Rock's Bring the Pain, his first HBO Hour special, Eddie Izzard's Dress to Kill, Louis C.K.'s not Shoot Up, that was the Showtime one, that was the second one. Louis C.K.'s Hilarious is the third one. What was the first one?
I can't remember.
I can't remember the name of the first one. I had a boss steal it from me on DVD. I lent it to her, but she gave me a Bob Dylan ticket, so it was worth it.
I think you won.
Yeah. I got to hear Bob Dylan play a song that I didn't realize was Times Were Changing for 3 minutes, and then I went, whoa, this is Times Were Changing.
I know this one.
Those were like the big ones. And like when I was like a really little kid, there was like Gallagher and Carrot Top and like
this is
Carlin.
Yeah, to me, this is the Comedy Central rerun or like syndication block,
which is
premium
also,
blends.
which is all like or the original HBO hours.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, the premium blends and Comedy Central Presents, which eventually turned into the Comedy Central half hour. Those were like the Dane Cook one was huge. The Jim Gaffigan's one was huge.
You know who's really huge, who I've not heard from, has not been in the conversation for me at least, Pablo Francisco.
Oh yeah, he's still around. He still works the road.
I feel like that special he did, like Quavo Splash, was like
massive,
huge for that moment.
Yeah,
and if the internet was around then, I feel like he would have like kabloom.
100%. And here's the other thing too, with all of those comedy. You want to know when stand-up got less popular for a little while?
Yeah, when is it?
When Comedy Central stuck the half hours in the 11:30 to midnight slot on Fridays.
Oh shit!
Comedy Central.
So what year do you think that is?
I don't know, but at a certain point, they just moved all the half hours to like late night on the weekends, and they didn't rerun them anymore. Like there was a period when the Dane Cook, the Beyond the Pale, all those like Jim Gaffigan stuff, Comedy Central just ran all those things that they owned all the time. And it's also funny because it's also similar from the time when they would build a full set for a comedian for their half hour special. Like I have a slide of the Bo Burnham one, and it's like a bedroom. They just built it for his half hour. Or like Jim Gaffigan's was like a bunch of corn behind him. And you see like they put effort in. And then later on, I have one slide in there too with like Theo Von's. They eventually just moved to like, it's a giant video wall and it's just the person's name sideways.
Yeah. So what's so funny about that is
you designed that sideways wall?
I might have worked on it or the previous version. I definitely we'll get to it. But
I think there might have been one other version in between. Yeah.
There's a more modern version which I think I was already here in LA at that point. This is like my New York life, but definitely the After Effects project for Comedy Central Presents. Yeah. With like the big speakers and that street art shit. Like I opened that at some point. That was made by someone who like worked at Comedy Central on our promo team probably 5 years prior.
I have it in here. I could show you.
Yeah, actually, I think I even have it on the John Mulaney
Here, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so the original one, what year is that? Oh, nice. You got Taylor's. I love Taylor. Yes. So this is even a later one because you can see this stage is kind of blank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is on the way. This is like, hey guys, we got a flat screen. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I think I remember. Yeah. I mean, I know it was the font was Gotham because that was the interstitial rebrand they did. Because this logo, the C inside the C.
Yes,
there was a
this is like 2009. Around this time is when that logo dropped.
Wait, no, it would be,
or not long after.
It would be 2011 or 12 because I was at Comedy Central when they briefly for like a year and a half had like a tooth black bars stacked as a Comedy Central. That was 3D.
Yeah,
that was a rebrand that didn't stick, and then they hired, I'm forgetting the name of the studio that did it. They did this while I was still there, so I was still in New York when this showed up.
Still might be the logo too.
Yeah, because these are recent screen grabs, so this is just their recent branding that goes on all their video stuff. But
that makes sense.
This stuff on the top right, this was the Comedy Central Presents branding. This is 2009. This specific one.
Yeah. So can you pop out really quick? And head over to mine and see if we can find Bo Burnham's half hour. I put in, whoa, a bunch of them disappeared.
Oh, no.
That's the old Comedy Central Presents.
Yeah.
And this is also a thing that isn't graphic design related, but is really funny, which is and you'll see this, and you don't see it much in stand-up specials anymore, which is the crane shot.
Yeah, you don't.
Stand-up comedy no longer has a crane, where every special used to have a crane shot.
So you can swoop in and see the audience, look how full the audience
Look
is.
at all these people, and also the crowds used to be so overlit.
Oh, yeah, isn't that crazy?
Obnoxiously overlit.
Yeah.
Where now, these like cool specials are all very dark.
Gets darker and darker.
Yeah.
So wait, let's kind of set. I mean, let's set what we're here to talk about today.
Okay.
Is like we're not here to analyze the content of comedians' comedy, but what I want.
I am. No, I'm just kidding.
but it's we're not ignoring that.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to talk to you about was just like the overall visual presence and like branding of specials.
Yes.
And not just the marketing of it, but like how the set looks, how the fashion choices look, the opening titles, like all this stuff like truly matters when creating a piece of entertainment.
Yes.
And it's amazing how much the art of it has changed since like the 90s, and then also over the course of one person's career.
Also, a huge part of that is in these Comedy Central Presents or like someone's early stand-up specials, they had like no say. Like all the early Jim Gaffigan specials, all the Comedy Central ones.
This is why I want to talk to you about it.
They have like none. Like you'd be like, okay, you're doing the John Oliver comedy show, and you show up and the set is designed in there. It's also funny like that seeing that like Mulaney, you were talking about I have a shot in here. If you zoom out, a lot of them are all shot in the same place too.
Oh, totally. Right.
Like 90% of them are like for New York City ones in the 90s. Scroll over. There's a Mulaney around here somewhere.
Oh, I got most. I have a Mulaney.
There's like one specific shot. Oh, up top right there, right above Gerard. To the right, the one with the crowd, right there. Boom. Okay, See this? This is the Pally Center. It is the NYU Pally Center. It is directly across the street from Washington Square Park. 80% of stand-up specials shot in the 2000s were shot in this room by Comedy Central, and the other ones, all the half hours, were shot at John Jay College.
Damn. And where's John Jay College?
On the Upper West.
Oh, God, never even heard of it.
So all of them were shot in these two theaters. So like if you watch the John Oliver stand-up show, you'll see that same wall on the side. If you watch the Patrice O'Neill Elephant in the Room special,
this kind of like hexagonal
it's there
thing. Oh yeah, look at that.
Everyone is shot there.
Huh. Look at this lit crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, like unnecessarily bright crowds.
Yeah. God, there's so much to launch into. Where to even start?
Why don't we start with you go ahead.
Yeah, I would, because we're talking about him. I would love to talk about Mulaney because I feel like there's such a clear, there's an arc there, but also we can see a lot of history of stand-up comedy from 2009 to today. His is an especially fascinating case to me.
Sure. I think Mulaney top 5 best working comics right now.
I mean, kind of undeniably, right?
Yeah. And from the jump too.
Yeah.
The kids got it, as they say.
And we talked about this in a previous episode. I forgot to. I can't remember if I mentioned this. Also Comedy Central alum.
Yeah. Yeah, him, Jesse Klein. There's like a bunch of those people who like worked on one side and then got to come over to the other.
Do you think him and Jesse Klein met there at Comedy Central, or just from the stand-up scene?
Just kind of this New York stand-up scene was all those people.
So I feel like maybe the best way for me is almost just like art school crit.
Yeah,
and just kind of go through this, and then
shoot.
I really want to hear anything, all your reactions to what's going on, but also just like lived experience with this, because again, this stuff is fascinating to me. So 2009, this is, I don't know if this is the first time John Mulaney is recorded like on stage doing stand-up, because
no, I think he had a Live at Gotham or a Premium Blend before this.
Oh really?
Yeah, probably a Live at Gotham because of his age.
Oh, is that skew younger, Live at Gotham?
Live at Gotham. So Comedy Central had Premium Blend for years, which was like the stand-up showcase show, and then Premium Blend went away.
Which, by the way, I didn't put it together until very recently, like a coffee reference.
Oh yeah,
which is so fucking 90s.
Yeah,
it's so like early Mark Maron level.
100%.
Mark
Maron has 2 Premium Blends and 2
I'm
Comedy
sure
Central half hours. Yeah. So then after Premium Blend ended, there was a little bit of a gap, and then there was Live at Gotham, and Live at Gotham was like the big showcase show. And I remember like
I think I did graphic packages for that show.
Yeah. Kumail got Live at Gotham, and like Sean Patton, and like I remember like being with a bunch of people watching, I think Sean Patton's, and it was like that starter credit. And then there was a really big gap after Live at Gotham, like a bunch of years where there was no stand-up showcase shows. So it created this weird gap where like people couldn't get that first starter credit.
Yeah.
And usually you would get like a Premium Blend or a Live at Gotham, and then you would go do a late night, and then you would get like your Comedy Central half hour.
There was like an ecosystem.
There was a path.
Yeah.
And then there was nothing for a long time. And then there was Adam Devine's House Party and John Oliver's stand-up show.
Yeah.
And I don't remember which. I think John Oliver's stand-up show came first, and there was like 3 seasons of that. And then there was like 3 or 4 seasons of Adam Devine. And then they started setting them off by culture. Like there was like Adam Devine's kind of like everybody young and hip. And then they did like New Negroes, which was like Baron Vaughn's and one, and then they did one for all the Spanish comics. I don't remember the name of it. And they were like
these all Comedy Central.
All Comedy Central.
God, I think this is.
Oh, and they had the Meltdown, which was like hipster.
Of
comedy.
course, that's when I moved to LA. Is when when the Meltdown was just on fire.
Yeah,
it was just.
That's when people cared about comedy the way they cared about indie rock.
Yeah.
And it was this interesting period where people would have favorite artists, those shows would sell out, and indie comedy was comedy.
Yeah.
And then
before
the podcast boom and club comedy took over.
Would you still call that alt comedy? Or the alt comedy scene? Because I feel like that.
Yes, but alt comedy is not a thing anymore.
It's like it's just like the mainstream at this point. And maybe
there is no more alt comedy.
Yeah.
There's not no more alt comedy, but it's like dramatically now. It's like Elysian theater clown comedy,
right? Yeah, like Courtney Peruso,
and they're like cool queer,
Kate Berlant,
yeah, and all the cool queer comedy of like the Lower East Side, Joe's Pubs, singing, dancing, all that cool shit.
Interesting. It's funny. It's so funny that I still call it like alt comedy when like alt comedy is John Mulaney and Nick Kroll, who are like massively successful,
and all those New York alt guys,
Patton Oswalt.
All those New York alt guys were alt guys because they couldn't work the clubs.
Yeah.
And then they got good enough where they like moved over.
It's so funny. Everyone's still like ultimately just trying to chase a way to do comedy and make money at it.
Yeah, and like alt was just like bar shows were just a way of finding your fan base.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Kinane, Pete Holmes, like Nate Bargatze. They were all doing the same bar shows in Chicago. It wasn't that they were alt comedy. They were just young comics who couldn't get booked at Zanies.
Damn.
You know?
Well, okay. So, early John Mulaney, and like to preface this.
Yeah.
John Mulaney to me is someone who seemingly, we talked about it just at the top of the show, finding your voice. He seemed to have a clear
idea of the product he was and what his comedy was like really early on.
And
right?
I think that comes from like family upbringing and good education for him. Like you can tell he's a well-educated dude.
Was it Georgetown?
Yeah, he was a Georgetown guy.
Him and Nick Kroll. Yeah.
And Birbiglia and Jacqueline Novak and
oh, really?
They were all in a sketch group together.
Oh, fuck. Well, yeah. I mean, there you go. It's very educated. It's not. I think he's not the right word, but it's clearly considered and thoughtful. It's very thoughtfully put together.
Yeah, and you can tell he comes from a family that had a bit of an edge.
Yeah.
You know, holding on a little tight, and it shows up in his comedy in a great way.
Yeah.
And he had a thing that I think I used to do when I was younger too, where it's like, I'm also kind of this sweet boy, like me.
Oh, totally.
Which is like a big alcoholic thing. Like, hey, you
really?
like me.
Oh, like codependence, right?
Codependence, yeah.
So just in this early snapshot.
Yes.
John Mulaney, I do not think the John Mulaney brand is necessarily here yet, right?
No, but it's not. He probably had a little bit of say in this set. Probably almost none, but he was probably like, can we just make it plain and like throw a chair out there? Sure.
If I remember the way these things were shot, it would probably be him and then 5 other comics all in one.
The way they shot the half hours is they would shoot 3 blocks in a night or 2 blocks in a night. And each half hour block, there would be 2 comics and you got 1 shot at it and that's it.
Got it.
So you got 30 minutes, comic after you, 30 minutes, they flipped the room. And sometimes they would do, sometimes they would do 2 of those and then they would have like 3 comics on one show.
Got it. So relatively like anonymous set. He's dressed like a guy who like went to H&M, got a nice shirt, baggy jeans, probably some New Balances down there, like pretty standard 21-year-old.
But like a well-dressed 21-year-old.
Yeah, he's
like
making an effort.
You know, I think most
He's not
kids,
wearing a hoodie. He's not wearing a hoodie.
Which is funny because he has an album version of this half-hour special.
The
called
top part, right?
Which is phenomenal. It's him recorded at the, I think, Punchline in San Francisco. Oh. And the hoodie is on the cover. Like I remember that. 2000s stand-up comedian hoodie is on the cover.
It's so funny because he's such a suit guy. Now. What we're going to get into. So, okay, I want to move on to, I don't have every special here, but I have, so... New in town.
So this is his Comedy Central hour special that he got probably 2 years or a year after that half hour. And at this point,
2012. This is 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. And also he is already like full blown SNL writer, very successful at this part.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's interesting about this to me is that I think there's like, okay, so it starts off with this sort of like a sketch. He's still sketch guy in this, right? It feels like the presentation of who he is, it's still a bunch of pieces you kind of put in the same space and hope they glue together somehow.
And the funny thing about this sketch, looking back on it now in retrospect,
which by the way, is we don't have it here, but it's like a sort of like 1980s Family Matters like opening to a sitcom.
Yeah, that somebody else like ripped off and made a whole like 20-minute YouTube video of basically doing what he was doing. But his new show, the LA show, I forget what it's called.
Well, we're gonna get to that. That's this huge part of this trajectory.
Okay, great. So this feels like it's in direct conversation. Like this is him putting his stamp on it, his taste up at the top.
Yes, I completely agree. And I didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. But yes, his comedy is such a collector of ephemera, like pop culture ephemera.
Yes.
Like keenly observed ephemera that he would like riff on. Like a lot of his early jokes were about like the Law and Order stuff.
Even his new haircut now, which I love, is very like 80s cool dad.
Totally.
It's fucking great.
Yeah. So, probably not sober at this point.
I think he is actually. I don't know. I don't know his like ons and offs, but
right.
Yeah,
the only reason I mentioned it because as we go forward, I feel like you can kind of see the cocaine.
Oh yeah,
you know,
when he starts doing those like Seth Meyers appearances and stuff.
Yeah, so
he is sober now, and we're real proud of you, buddy.
We are very proud of you. All our
I don't
friends.
actually know Mulaney. I've met him a couple of times, but we have a very close mutual friend, and I'm a big fan. It's a weird thing to be like talking about John Mulaney as a stand-up on a podcast. Be like, and here's another thing.
Did I put you in an awkward position by making you talk about this?
No, it's cool. It's funny because one of these clips will go up, and my friend Dan will send this to John, and John will probably watch this.
Well, to just get into it, I have nothing but like either like
No,
thoughtful or positive things to say.
Yeah, this is how you do it right.
Yeah.
This trajectory.
Right. So it's interesting. It's interesting to me to see his like the branding of what he is like start to click into place.
And
He's
this-
wearing a suit. He's
yeah.
wearing a suit. The first time I can remember being like, "Oh, John's a suit guy."
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And like special name taken from a great bit.
Yeah.
And then also this is the special that gets later licensed to Netflix that makes him famous.
Oh, is it really?
So this special came out and it did well for him.
Yeah.
He was already like Wonderkin. People loved him. SNL guy. He had the fans. He opened for Briglia for a long time on tour.
Sure.
So he like cultivated that fan base and was like, people liked this guy. And it was when people still bought comedy albums,
Yeah.
the records, and the top part was big. So it was like, you know, part of that trajectory. But then years later, Netflix licensed this, and this did so well. Like the cover for this special is great, by the way. The New in Town. It's like him walking with the suit jacket with the like, nice fonts on the side.
Yeah.
And that thing rocket shipped, and then Netflix was like, "You want some stand-up specials?"
I mean, this is early days of early days Netflix when they were like, "Oh my God, we could be the stand-up people."
Yes. Well, they were always stand-up people because stand-up is the cheapest thing to produce.
Sure.
So anytime there's a new network, they go to stand-up. Like Hulu's
doing it right now.
Hulu's doing it right now.
A buddy of mine did the branding for Hulu Hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Dawson, great work.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to see, like, whenever someone's like, oh, it's a quick way to get eyeballs with people who might be already famous or on the way up, have small followings, push people to our platform. Similar, like, TV networks like UPN did it with, like, black artists and TV shows to, like, build their brand. And once they had enough following, they just became WB and whitewashed it.
I mean, I get it. I get
Yeah.
that. I get
And Netflix, like, we'll pay you Dave Chappelle $80 million to do a special. And now they're at the point where they're like, hey, we'll give you 180. You go make it yourself and we'll license it for a bunch of years.
There you go.
Because they have the audience. So then
Yeah.
now they, you know, are doing the shitty thing.
But this okay.
Yes, Kid Gorgeous. This is when Mulaney is big. This is, to me, I love this special. This is when Mulaney becomes Mulaney.
Absolutely. Right.
Or like, this is when he's like,
oh, it's codified.
and he's at the peak of his powers.
And if
As a comic.
completely. And if TikTok were around at this point, I feel like this is a special when you could do an impression of John Mulaney. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You could, it talks a little like this.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that he does the,
Yeah.
you can do the lazy John, like I just did, a lazy John Mulaney impression. And to look at the visual presentation of this, the suit gets like trimmer.
It's a real suit this time.
It's a real suit.
It's a we got a budget suit, not like a I should go out and buy a nice suit for my Comedy Central special.
It's not Men's Warehouse. This is clearly like
No.
wardrobe provided by Hugo Boss or something like that.
Yeah. Somebody, that's like a Dolce suit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is, but it's money.
Yeah.
And like, it's in the way, it's all in the details. Look how the tie is just a little bit loose.
Yeah.
Fucking nailed it.
He looks great on it. The set.
Insane.
It is a
It's
everything
it's
about it is
Radio
big.
City,
It's Radio City.
which I've played Radio City.
Have you really?
It's one of the hardest rooms to do comedy in, because in comedy, you want a vertical wall like this. Like the Moore Theater in Seattle is like perfect. It's like a straight wall and they're just in rows. Radio City, it's a fucking, it's a football field before you get to the balconies. So it's just a slow incline. So there's a lot of air to fill. And after I did Radio City for the first time, this special had already come out, I had a whole new level of respect for John Mulaney.
Damn.
Like I always was like, that special's great, he's great. But after performing there, you're like, that is a big room to fill with laughs.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, the grandeur of this, and he's clearly evoking this sort of like
Old Hollywood.
There's always been this old Hollywood thing,
Yeah.
Old New York, the Great White Way, kind of Broadway kind of thing that he like with Oh Hello and like
He's Jerry Seinfeld with taste.
right, yeah,
You know what I mean? Like Jerry has
Absolutely.
okay taste,
Yeah.
especially for like a 60-year-old dude.
yeah.
But like, this is like this is what you think stand-up is.
I'm pausing because I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, just because,
Or this is the Hollywood version of stand-up.
it's just such a showbiz thing.
Yes.
This is what you think showbiz
Yes.
is. Like a 40s or 50s kind of Dick Van Dyke era, like Nichols and May touring the country, going on the road.
Yeah,
and-
it's throwback.
It's throwback
Hollywood.
It's throwback Hollywood. Like, if there was a portion of this special where he did a bit of a song and dance,
100%.
like, he does soft shoe too. Hell yeah, John.
yeah.
You got it, man.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of what Oh Hello is. It's even
Yes.
more their like down and dirty love letter to that kind
oh my
of
god,
stuff.
just real quick, like I clearly love Oh Hello for 100 billion different reasons. One of the most specific reasons is that it is the only piece of comedy work, to my knowledge, ever made that makes a joke that specifically references my stop on the Long Island Railroad.
Hell yeah.
I think they have like the characters in the show. John's character specifically has a play that he's written, or maybe it's a screenplay called Last Stop Ronkonkoma, and that is literally the stop I take. I take the Ronkonkoma like line all the way out to the end. My parents
Also-
pick me up at Ronkonkoma station. I call them at West Islip saying I'm 2 stops away, and then they pick me up at Ronkonkoma.
Ronkonkoma, just a perfect name for comedy.
All those hard K sounds.
Fucking Ronkonkoma.
And when people say Ronkonkoma, it's Ronkonkoma. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a joke for 6 people. John Mulaney, one of them. But I love this, but also now knowing John Mulaney's work, this feels it feels like dated in his trajectory. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay, cool. I haven't rewatched this one in a long time. But
Not the content, the branding of this.
okay, cool.
You know, in 2024, this feels like it's throwback in a way that I'm not sure necessarily tracks anymore, because culture just moves so quickly, and like I don't know who.
But we love a throwback. Everything is mood board, old things,
Totally.
old photos. So I think this to me feels, anything that's like when you nail something, it remains timeless to me.
That's a good
and this kind of feels timeless to me.
I can't argue with that. But let's So then we go to Baby J.
I love Baby J.
So, and there again, the typography, it is glittery gold, it's
Yeah.
embossed, it's this sort of filigree stuff that just feels like radio skin, like old school showbiz stuff.
Yeah.
Baby J, famously, the special he did after rehab,
Yeah.
there's something very interesting going on here that you can kind of help me pare this down.
Yes.
There's a few subtle things happening.
The
One-
hair is getting longer.
The hair is
Love
getting
it.
hair is getting longer. One thing is there are no titles for this.
Oh, really?
That's I looked a few times. Maybe I just missed it because I didn't watch the entire special all the way through again.
Yeah.
But a Netflix comedy special is all we get.
Wow.
Baby J, there's no title, there's no typography on the opening of this whatsoever.
So these side lights, see those? That was a big thing. They have those in my Bill Burr comedy special. There was a period where it was just like, we're putting these lights on the side of all the specials. Like my first TV set, like one of those things they did. Bill Burr presents The Ringers, and
Yeah.
it was all the comics Bill picked, and I
Yeah.
was one of them. And there's like a bunch of those. My friend Jay Larson special, he put a bunch of those up. These lights just became a thing for a while.
It's a little industrial. I kind of get it. Kind of
Yeah.
shows process a little bit.
But I think they're also trying to be a little old Hollywood.
Yeah.
But
What's okay? What I want to talk about with this one is the color in this.
it's so fun.
It's really fun, and to me, now knowing where John's work is now and how he lives in LA,
Yeah.
there is something. This is such a transitional comedy special, I feel.
Yeah.
And the presentation of it is we are not yet in this sort of like cool dad John Mulaney yet.
Old 80s.
Yeah, it's
80s throwback Mulaney.
this is like there's neon here,
Yeah.
which is like John's work has never really approached the 80s in any way. You know, he was a college dude and then throwback showbiz Hollywood dude. And this is, even his suit is this sort of like saturated plum color, which
It looks
exciting.
like a Joker suit.
It looks like the Joker suit. It
Yeah.
absolutely does.
the colors in this feel like I
and
love
the
this
set changes as the special goes
totally
on,
right. This
which
is
is such a cool move. And Neil Brennan directed. I don't know who directed this one, but Brennan directed a great special Seth Meyers did called Lobby Baby that's on Netflix.
oh, both of Seth Meyers specials are great.
Seth Meyers is a killer.
Yeah.
And that Lobby Baby one, Neil just had a plain screen, but the color gradient changed the whole special, like slowly, and it's so cool. I'm about it.
I love both those specials. They look good. But okay,
This is fucking great.
I think it looks great, but it also feels like it's not yet a cohesive, because John is so good at presenting a fully like world building, right?
Yeah.
Oh Hello is world building. His showbiz, the guy in a suit thing, is world building. We kind of do live in the John Mulaney's specific kind of world, and this is not. I don't necessarily know what this is. This special, in a weird way, is closer to this one than it is anything he's doing recently.
It feels like the first two put together, to
Right?
me. You like they slam the first two together.
So let's go to Everybody's in LA. Which,
I love it.
To me,
Fucking hell yeah, dog.
there's so much maturity and interesting things happening in the branding of Everybody's in LA. The typography alone,
Love it.
it's like a streetwear label, right?
Yeah,
They're dropping
but it
vowels.
also it also feels like, oh wow, yeah. It also just feels like a cool throwback to a 90s logo to me. Like early 90s.
In what way is it?
I don't know. I just look at it and I'm like, I feel like this is an ad for Oakley sunglasses in the 90s kind of thing. Like action sports kind of thing. Like 90s action sports kind of logo.
Hold on. I want to pull up. Let's just, I want to see if this reference actually makes sense even for me. But
Oh, Paul prevents a screen room. Nice choice. I think I texted you that.
oh yeah.
Oh, love her. She's the GOAT. Yes. Kind of like the public stuff. Yeah.
Which is like
Very 90s.
Very 90s New
Very
York.
alive.
I mean, Paula really like set the tone for.
She has an episode of Abstract, that Netflix documentary
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite things on earth. She's one of the coolest artists who's ever lived. She designed the New York City Public Parks logo. She designed the Citibank logo. But she's most known for, for doing
This fucking guy dropping origins of the Citibank logo.
Yeah.
I have a BFA from School of Visual Arts.
Dude, she's the coolest.
Yeah.
And she's the one who created the visual voice of the Public Theater, which is also Joe's Pub, which is like the New York City in the 90s, which everybody just ripped her off. She also did Bruce Springsteen's Darkness on the Edge of Town album cover.
She's a legend.
She's a
and
legend.
like a New Yorkie kind of legend.
Fucking, she's a goat, man.
Yeah. So I see what you mean now. Yes. It totally feels like that. Let's talk about the fashion. The colors are getting muted. And yes, this could be like, oh, look at the set. It's like another 90s, 80s sitcom thing or whatever. But it's also not. It's also completely contemporary and lived in and like hashtag cozy spaces on Instagram.
100%.
This feels like it feels absolutely today.
It feels thrifted.
Feels thrifted. That's exactly what it is.
With one
John
or
has
two,
never felt thrifted before.
with one or two nice pieces. This is what his actual life probably looks like.
Yes. Okay. Wait.
He's done presenting.
I feel like all this showbiz stuff was like John the time traveler, right?
This is the thing we were talking about early in the episode. This is like, I'm making it, baby. I'm getting to the top.
Yeah.
And then you fucking get sober and you get to who you actually want to be. And it makes sense that thing feels transitional, that special. Because that's him like fucking 6 months out of rehab.
Yeah.
He's just been touring his like
raw space. He's vulnerable.
Yeah.
A new relationship. I think he's
like
a father at this point.
Trying some shit out. And then you go over to I'm famous enough. I'm just going to make the shit I like with my friends.
Yeah. And it feels modern. It feels tactile.
It also feels old. It feels informed.
And it feels so comfortable with itself. And John's comedy, I feel like at this point, is starting to feel, he even looks more comfortable with himself.
Yeah.
He looks less tightly wound.
Well, not in that photo, but
well, we're all just aging.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But he just looks like he's more like chummy.
Yeah.
Then he's such a writer.
I think
he's a fucking good writer.
And I think part of it too is, and I think I don't know the dude, so I don't want to speak for him, but I think he's just like, this is who I am. I'll be a little dark. I'll be a little weird.
Yeah.
You get to the other side of some shit and you just go, fuck it.
We've already spent so much time and we're
on one special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go next? I mean, I would kind of love to talk about, can I do a quick hit?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to put these two together because two comics I really love. I love Anthony Jeselnik.
I am a fan. I'm almost more of a fan of him as a person, like him on podcasts. His Marin recently was fucking incredible.
Great.
So good.
So great.
Such a smart, intelligent, deep dude who I've known for years and I know still does not know my name.
I can see that.
We're a head nod kind of
I can see that.
work associates.
And Taylor Tomlinson,
who I think is one of the greatest working comics today.
Oh, absolutely. I worked on her show very
Another
briefly.
Top 5 for me.
Yeah. So the reason I want to put these two together is specifically the typography.
I love it.
Taylor's special.
Is this the newest one?
This is the newest one.
Okay.
This came out I think a month into her hosting After Midnight.
She's a fucking workhorse. Man.
Incredible. Where Taylor succeeds here, I feel like Jeselnik kind of misses the mark, and specifically with the typography. This is what I call, and it's a little bit in Everybody's in LA, but what's so good at this is such nitpicky shit. But like, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Is the kerning, which is the space between letters.
The A's.
It is tight. It is really tight. It's overlapping, and
I love it.
The words
And the
have
space,
it all.
Yeah.
It is. This is
It's
what
maximalist.
the way I refer to it is fuck you type.
Yeah.
Where it's so big it eats the screen.
Yeah.
And you have just enough room. You have just enough room for Taylor in here, and you have this sort of like
Soft. This is who I am.
It's handwriting. It's a little. It's like punk, but
It
not
balances
obnoxious.
it out.
And it works so well because you get this feeling of have it all. It eats the screen. All is so much. You want to have it all. You want to have the life and the love and your career, your home life. You want to. It's so hard to hold all this shit in one person. We are all struggling to do that.
Damn.
And by the way, I didn't even realize this as I was putting it together. His is called Bones and All,
Oh, funny.
which is a fucking great name for a Anthony Jeselnik special because he feels like he is a apex predator.
Yeah.
Eating, hunting down wildebeests, and then for him to say, and I'm gonna eat the fucking bones too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's Anthony Jeselnik. He doesn't eat just the meat. He eats the bones and everything.
I love this outfit and I love the backdrop so much, but that jacket bleeds into that backdrop a little bit.
It's a little All Saints for me. It feels like a little cool dude for me. The truck, it's like a suede.
He's wearing that outfit. That outfit's not wearing him though. He's cooler than the outfit.
I do agree with that. But the typography, this is a extended weight of a font, weight font weights are is it thin? Is it medium? Is it heavy bold or extended is when it's
the
horizontally
H, the H
huge.
is stretched out. The A is stretched
Everything
out.
feels as goes left and right. It eats it up that way. If you took this type treatment and applied it to Bones and All, it would be way more successful. Right now, this feels...
I love this color and this feels very fun in 70s to me in a way similar that remember in the band episode where it's like this movie is meant to be played loud?
Yeah.
It feels very similar. And if this feels like it would be a Godard font, but because there's not, it's missing just a touch of variation. Either Bones and All needed to be a little bit smaller. There's something where it all kind of bleeds in together where it disappears a little bit.
To your point, the hierarchy is a little muddled. Hierarchy being what do you read first?
Yeah.
They're kind of the same weight. There's either too much air in between the letters or not enough air. In the
Bones and All could have been tighter. Bones
and All should have been like this. It should have been the exact same.
And it should have been
Bones and All.
And it should have been. I love the Anthony Jeselnik, and if they would have just tightened Bones and All, it would have made both stand out more.
And I think Bones and All should be bigger than Anthony Jeselnik. I mean, I think
it's never gonna happen. This is Anthony Jeselnik, buddy.
But just because we can do another quick hit here, let's talk about Ronnie
I
Chang's,
fucking love Ronnie.
which you talk
Ronnie,
about throwback.
Yeah, Ronnie. I was at this special taping.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
This was in Honolulu.
No. Okay, then I was at the one before this. Oh, I was at the one where Ronnie's wearing the tuxedo. So Ronnie has 3 Netflix specials now. I was at the one before this that I was at Asian Comedian Destroys City or something like that.
I know what you're talking
where
about,
the
yeah.
poster is like one of those old school movie posters, and it's
Yeah.
him because All Things Comedy, Bill's company, produced these, and it was around the time we were doing my 2. So yeah.
So this one shot in Honolulu. My friend, my old coworker from Comedy Central, did the titles and typography. This is Julia Verardi.
It's very fun.
She's incredibly talented. He is dressed in this perfect late 50s, like kind of dude on vacation.
If you told me this was just a Drake's ad, I'd believe it.
Oh my God. He walks into the special with a lei on.
Oh, that's fun.
Which is great. Apparently the typography was inspired by, it's like an Elvis album where he goes to Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's inspired by that.
Yeah, and that reads.
And it also has, which I didn't show when everybody's in LA, but it has a little bit of
A line outside of it.
well, like this sort of cathode ray soft.
Yeah.
It's
it feel when you zoom in on like this, it feels like old movie credits.
It's exactly it. And there's even a bit of a little bit of a film strip shake on
Yes,
it, which is
I love it.
Is great. And it's a light touch. The like this drapey curtains, the jewel tone, all of it like.
And Ronnie's for all of his anger and everything, he's a classy guy with taste.
If anything, it has a lot in common with
The
Kid Gorgeous,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, they feel related.
Where'd our guy go? Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one he did before this kind of has that similar like old Hollywood vibe.
Another dude in a suit.
Yeah.
Comic, which is increasingly rare. Man, there's so much.
And also like these 2 specials are big flashy specials. This was
Yeah.
like the end of an era of big money Netflix make it look like we spent a lot of money on it specials.
Yeah.
And this is the best version of that. Both of these, I think.
Totally.
The Ronnie Chang, the John Mulaney, these are the like big fancy specials. We're in a theater and it's filmed well. But I will say 2 things about those kinds of specials. The way they are shot, there is a lot of space between the camera and the artist. You know what I mean? And it creates like it feels like show business, and it doesn't feel like it even in mine. I'm far away from the camera in a lot of it.
Let's go to yours.
Cool.
Want to go over there?
Yeah. And so I was producing, or Mike and me were, and
Is this yours in the
that's
yellow?
mine in the blue. Oh yeah, you can scream in the black and yellow is my credits.
Oh yeah, I want to let's
So this is it. That's it from the
what's
roof.
the best way to start? There's Chris Rock. I'm guessing would this be the first frame?
Sure. Or yeah, or even that. There's me in the aisle. Do the aisle one to the right, underneath 2
This
over.
guy?
No, oh, that's the end credits. 2 over to the right.
I,
1 more over. So that's kind of the master shot, right? And it's me on
Nice.
stage. And this was on a slider. So right now you're catching it a little off balance. And there's 2 master shots, which is this one. And that there's a thing that this was around the time when a lot of people were producing their own specials. And one of the things that looks terrible in a stand-up special, especially when comics produce them themselves, there's no depth between them and the wall behind them.
Yeah.
And it makes it
one
look
of the biggest
flat
problems
and cheap.
was with this. Was trying to create. We have a tiny space. We have about 2 feet here.
Yeah.
It was only the backlighting that gets us off the background.
Yeah. And a lot of comedy specials, comics they have no budget, so they don't know how to like. But I was like, the thing that makes a special not look cheap is when there's space between the comic and the back wall.
I think it's such a smart observation.
So
really,
there's probably
there's a great Sarah Silverman special from the one where she was
Largo?
like the high knee socks.
is that the Largo one?
Maybe it was such a bummer because it was so flat. It felt cheap. It felt like
Yeah.
I just sort of like I got like a VHS, like a bootleg recording of
Yeah.
like a really good Sarah Silverman special.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't want this to feel cheap, so I knew we filmed in a big warehouse space, right?
It looks really
and
good.
Thank you. And all Mike. And similar to this room being all you. We put like a 6, that was the steady cam. And this is the camera in the balcony. And then this is one of our side angles. So we had 2 side angles, 2 main shots. This was probably the one on the slider. And then
Tell me about the Apple box. Was that a big decision?
that was a choice. Yeah, because we didn't know what we were going to put on the stage. Yeah. And I come out and the mic's on it when I come out. So it was so I could pick the mic up of something. But the whole point was like, we just did it in a wash of these like blue lights. There's 2 little lights above me, the hair light, and I'm lit with 1 light. That's it.
It feels really dramatic. It feels like
it pops.
It feels like black box theater kind of thing.
Yeah, and
but not cheap or like lo-fi. Like
yeah.
I mean, this honestly, this is genuinely my first time like seeing it outside of like a vertical cut down.
Yeah,
and seeing this, I think you did a really good job here.
Thanks. Yeah, and we put up.
This is great, man.
Thanks.
So I'm not surprised because you have great taste. In this work, the black and white with the
the opening credits are in black and white. And that I stole that in the middle of like me turning, but it's like it's on me, and then if it turns, and then when I turn, those are the end credits. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That's when I get off stage. When it cuts to me at the back. Oh, slide over one more. There you go. You can even go over one more. So there's that, and then it's me, and then when it cuts to the back, you see the back of the jacket, and Mike and Kyle, our editor, match cutted it so the line, and then I come out of the curtain onto the stage, and it's the tracking shot behind me of the audience, and that's the only time in the special you see the audience, because there was that big 90s thing of showing the audience.
Are these 2 different locations?
Yeah, this is Raleigh Denim Workshop in North Carolina, where or Raleigh Denim Works. It's Raleigh Denim in North Carolina, and the dude Victor made this for me.
Oh, cool.
So it's like a 1-of-1 jacket and pair of Raleigh denim jeans.
So you're like trying it on, and
then the opening credits are like him making it. Like you see him like sewing, him skating around his workshop.
I love that, man. This is really good.
And it's my taste. And then the fonts were just like we just picked it out, and it was what I liked. And so when I step off the stage, it goes to black and white, and then hits the credits, and then the Kevin Morby music kicks up. I would say let's just play the opening, but the opening's an MF Doom Czarface song, and we will get hit for penalty. But
I gotta say really quick here, this looks like Bebas is my guess.
It was in premiere, and
probably Bebas.
We made it ourselves day of on the fly, all the credits.
I don't know. What I want to say is that this is an excellent choice because someone else, when trying to achieve this typographic result, would have gone with Impact, which is awful. Impact is the font that all memes are in.
Yeah.
It's a long, skinny, like big, bold font, which can look, I don't know, in a different world, maybe could have looked impactful. But it's just been ruined by memes and it's corny looking. This looks great. This looks absolutely great.
And if you slide over, we did little, big, and it's like spread out a bit.
This is really thought out, man. I think you did a good.
We did this in like an afternoon. That's Victor who made all the clothes.
I think you should be really proud of this.
Thanks.
I'm not
I am. Yeah. Okay. Raleigh Denim Workshop. That's the pocket he put in for my glasses. Czarface, Kevin Morby, big shout outs for the free music, or letting me use the music. And then all jokes about Judd Apatow approved by Judd Apatow. Slide over, then the punchline via email. Because I have a joke in the special about how things were going very well for me before COVID. I got on TV twice last year. I got Judd Apatow's email address. I'm like, I'm sending him. He's not answering. And then I sent him the special to be like, hey, you cool with me making this joke? And he was like, yes, but me answering this email makes it a lie. And then I said, it will be duly noted in the credits.
This just looks like really good.
Thanks.
I'm kind of relieved because I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen this, and if it was gonna be bad, I'd be like, oh boy.
Yeah, and we thought a lot about it.
I think that's really obvious.
The other thing too is, here's the other thing with all of these specials. That's my don't tell.
Yeah, this also looks really good.
Thanks.
You do a good job.
Any of the comics who have good taste, their specials tend to look good. Comedians who are comics who I wouldn't necessarily love, their specials are kind of like whatever. Or when they're really broke now, You know what I mean? When comics are really broke, they don't have, or young, they don't have a choice in what they make. And now that comics are making them themselves, you can see the guys who like might be a good comedian, but don't have the best taste in design. And it's like the guy who's wearing the whatever, you know, like, you would see the outfit and you'd be like, yeah, that set goes with that.
Yeah. You know what? Okay. There was a, Tomlinson and Robert Ben Garrett wrote a book about movie writing that was very good. It's like how to be successful. It's a funny title. Let me look this up real quick because this is.
Oh, are you talking about the guys from the state? It's like how to make $1 million. Oh, you got
writing movies for fun and profit, and fun is crossed out.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I read this book. It's a great book.
It's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. I read this maybe 10 or 12 years ago.
I read it probably around 6 or 7.
2012. I probably read it when it just came out. So in it, there's a story they tell about how when they were shooting Reno 911 and they had a prop master and they had to have like a knife because someone gets stabbed or something like that. And the prop master brings them a giant comical looking knife.
Yeah.
Thinking this is a comedy. I have to provide funny props for it. Not getting the dynamic that happens in comedy that like the jokes are the funny part. Everything else you have to play it straight. And the reason I bring it up is because as a designer who's worked with comedians for so long, I feel like there is this mistake sometimes that not even comedians, but just comic people will make, thinking like it's funny. We have to let people know it's funny. We have to design it like it's a goofy joke around time. And I really feel like you cut the product, you cut the comedy off of the knees by like making things feel like it's capital F funny for you. So you like make sure you know how to laugh, you know, like you can oversell and ruin something by giving.
It can look hack.
It can look fucking hack. It looks hack.
Yeah.
And I feel like the best of these specials are the ones that treat this like this is film, or this is a piece of artwork that's very serious.
So this takes me to my next section of the boards, which are the A24 Stand Up Specials.
Oh my God.
So if you zoom out a little bit, and you can either go to the Gerard Carmichael ones in red.
Oh yeah.
Or there's, so this is the newest Gerard Carmichael one, and it looks incredible. And these were shot, Bo Burnham directed these, because Bo's just, I think, and actually look at the Chris Rock one below it.
Yeah.
Bo directed that too, and that's Tambourine. And that was Chris Rock's attempt at like transitioning into the more smart, thoughtful Chris Rock.
And it's a good special.
It's a really good special. And I feel like he's like halfway, like not sure if he wants to jump over to the like, I fucked up, this is me getting serious.
Yeah.
And it like opens with like a pretty standard, like I'm old school Chris Rock bit, and then transitions into some of that stuff. And I think he doesn't know how to, which side of the fence he wants to be on.
Real quick, the opening sketch for a stand-up special, where do you stand on it?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
So I like the New in Town. That's the best version of it.
Yeah.
But then there were all the 80s ones. The Eddie Izzard one is the perfect example of what the fuck is happening.
It goes
here.
on for like 10 minutes.
There is a 10-minute just camera going.
It.
Yeah, there's a 10-minute
And Dress
camera
to Kill
going.
is, I think, maybe one of the top 5 comedy specials of my youth.
Dress to Kill?
Yeah.
It's in my top 2.
Cake or Death. Cake or
Cake
Death alone. Cake or Death alone.
Yeah.
Cake or Death and Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. He's so good.
Yeah. And you learn a fuck ton in that special. So Eddie Izzard, Chris Rock's Bring the Pain. Two, I think, are two of the greatest stand-up specials of all time. If I was building a Mount Rushmore, those specials would be on it.
By the way, I'm so glad we both have Eddie Izzard in common because I don't hear his name used.
Well, now it's her name, I think.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
I you know what? I should have checked on that.
Yeah,
I apologize, Eddie. If Eddie is even the
I don't even
pronoun-
think the name
is.
is Eddie anymore.
Well,
we're not saying any of this because we don't believe in that shit.
No.
And also, I'm not calling it shit. You know what I mean? They're the comics who do
the comedian that I grew up with, whose dead name is Eddie Izzard. I love their work incredibly, and whatever name or pronoun they want to go by, I completely support it as long as they are still doing.
We
comedy.
just didn't Google it before this episode.
I Should we Google it right now?
Sure.
Just to do our due diligence and apologize to.
We don't have to apologize. None of this was said out of malice. Eddie Izzard.
Let's see. No. Suzy Eddie Izzard?
Oh,
do they
Suzy.
go by Suzy now?
Oh, yeah, Suzy. Just a fucking beast of a comic.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's a personal gender fluid. Somewhat boyish, somewhat girlish. He's transgender.
But, like, that's how I learned about what transgender is. That's the great thing about stand-up. You get a view into other cultures that are
supports
not your
Crystal
own.
Palace. How do we feel about that?
Crystal Palace is a fine club. I mean, I feel bad. They're a mid-tier club that you're always just hoping stays up. The owner seems like a really nice guy, and they have a couple ex-Arsenal players that we're rooting for that aren't getting much playing time. Also, we kicked their ass twice. This week.
Yeah. Anyway, Suzy Izzard, one of the best. Anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the opening sketch. Wait, we confirmed opening sketch. Don't do it. Let's do you want to go back to A24?
Yeah. Okay. So this is the Netflix tambourine, but above it is the Rothaniel one, which if you
this one?
Yeah, it's dark. It's single spotlight. It's
very sexy.
It's very sexy. And
it's that slight blue greenish tint that feels like old Kodak celluloid film.
Yes, when everything was lit by halogen lights.
Yes,
and has like a tint of that green.
2,000 degrees.
Yeah, zoom out a little bit. Yeah, him on the stage. You see just a touch of the crowd. Like this.
Isn't that funny? I never thought about the audience lighting until you started talking about it.
This feels like cinema. You know what I mean? Like the Safdie, one of the Ben Safdie just did an Adam Sandler one. And it feels, and it feels like a movie. It doesn't feel like a comedy special. And that's the thing too. I know from people who are friends with Gerard and like these guys, they shoot these things like movies. They shoot a bunch of them. They take different takes. They edit them in the order that they feel like works best for them. And they're like, this is what I want this is intimate. You're with him. There's shots when he's like bent over, zoom out a little bit. Like there's no escaping him in this special. Like him bent over, him, and it's fucking great. Now this is his one before, and I love this special. It's called Infinity, and it's him in this big room, and it's like, this is just before he comes out, and it's just fucking.
Oh my God, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. I just realized we have to Google this. Hold on.
Love at the Store. But this is the Spike Lee directed one.
I did the opening titles for this.
Oh, how did you forget about that?
You can tell how successful you are.
I completely forgot because I was at Funny or Die at the time, and it was some weird little thing that was thrown my way, and I was getting notes via
Spike Lee.
For Betsy Koch, who was an EP there, was constantly on the phone with Spike Lee, and I was just like translating. I forgot that I even did the opening titles for this. I wonder how I can even this.
So
yep, there it is.
You did that?
Here's my work. Love it. It was this typography. I animated this. It's very simple. I'll have to track it down. I wouldn't even know where to begin, how to find it, other than trying to find.
I will say this:
Max login.
Part of that HBO thing is I know it was at like the end of a deal for Spike. Like Spike just needed to do another thing for HBO, like Gerard. And it's like overly lit. It's in the OR at the Comedy Store. It's a weird special. It's also funny watching Simona Mulaney. It's watching the Gerard transformation is one of the craziest ones ever, because I saw Rothaniel first. I was like not on like the thing. Gerard just never interested in me. I'd only see like little clips or see him at a club, and I was like, eh. And then during the pandemic, I saw Rothaniel and I saw Make Happy, the Bo Burnham special. And
After this, I want to talk about Burnham.
great. And I watched Rothaniel first, and it blew me away. And then I watched Make Happy, and it was far enough out of the pandemic where I didn't connect with it anymore. Where Rothaniel, I was like, this is what we should be doing. Everyone should be doing specials that look and feel like this, and it's honest and vulnerable. Not all, but like it's the kind of art I want.
Yeah.
When it comes to a special,
And it
like,
feels like they're taking like comedy specials could be.
it's art.
Yeah.
It's
And
not all stand-ups art. And that's the thing with mine. My special is a stand-up special. It looks really good. It gets close, but it's not what at this point in my life, it's like the thing I said to my therapist.
It's stylish though.
It is. And you can tell I'm a guy with taste and I'm proficient at what I do, but I didn't. The thing that I said with my therapist is you can't have fans if you don't know yourself, other people can't know you.
Yeah.
And I was in that period of like deep transition in my life when I did this. I was like
Interesting.
coming out of a 7-year relationship, really trying to figure out who the fuck I am.
Were you sober at this point?
Yeah. I think in this special I'm sober like 9 years.
Oh, amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
But that work takes fucking a long time.
Yeah.
And like there's jokes in that special that I would never. There's like setups, like people pleasery setups that I would never make now.
Oh, interesting.
Like I have this Confederate flag joke where I'm like, I don't get the Confederate flag. Maybe it's because I'm from New York. Like now I would never say maybe it's because I'm from New York. Like who gives a fuck? I just don't get it. I think it's insane.
Also, as if like New York is somehow
Just like I didn't grow up in the South.
Yeah. I get you. And also, like, there's probably plenty of Confederate flags in New York now.
Yeah. Oh God.
Sorry.
Okay, go down one.
Yeah.
Look at the Rami special.
Oh,
so
yeah.
this one's fucking beautiful. This is like one of my favorite specials. I don't know if I took enough screen grabs of this one, but Chris Stoner directed it, who is the director
Is it
of
Store or
Store?
Store,
Sorry.
yeah.
Who's the creator and director of The Bear. And he did a bunch of stand-up specials. He directed a ton of them before all of this stuff popped off. And he did Rami's, he did Bo's, and he's the guy.
Which Bo one
He
did
did
you
a bunch of the Bo Burnham ones.
Wow.
Maybe even all of them. And he did like the Dan Soder HBO one that's really cool. And like he's the guy who brought art and taste. Like he's the cinema end like of the A24 style new young art stand-up comedy movement.
Wasn't the guy? Oh God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Key and Peele director, because he directed a bunch of stand-up specials too. I can't think of his name. He directed Keanu. Their movie.
But the Rami one is so great because it's also right in his face. It's these two side angles. It's a couple really close camera shots, and then there's like 2 shots in the whole special where you see the full crowd.
Oh really?
And one of them's like a slow
Peter
pano.
Tensio. I feel like I think he did a lot of stand-up
You
specials.
can click on it, and you'll see they'll be up at the top.
I thought he did at least.
Oh, he directed The Machine, the Burt Kreischer
Oh yeah,
movie.
yeah. There you go. I thought he came from.
Key and Peele. He did a bunch of early UCB stuff. He did Girl Code and Guy Code. Yeah.
But another like a director, comedy director who had an artful, stylish bent to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like it's so cool to see, and it's so funny to see. Look at this, Rami right on top of the Chris Rock. This is Bring the Pain, which
The most 90s special.
his his initials are in the back.
And they're big.
Yeah.
We're like, is this a still out of a movie?
Yeah. Right.
Or is this a stand-up special?
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Let's
Also,
yeah.
one last thing before you leave. Look at there's slide over one, the Aziz special. This is the one directed by...
Oh, this one right here?
Yes. This is the 16 millimeter one directed by the same guy who directed her, Spike Jonze. And it's like, it was all shot on 16 millimeter.
What year was this?
It was the right after his soft cancellation special.
Oh, okay.
And this is the like I'm thank you for sticking with me special. It's very strange. It's a weird special, but I really like it. And it's shot on film, looks like film. They did this weird thing where they filmed a lot of the sets like directly in front of him on stage as he's talking to the crowd, and then there's like the cutting out stuff. So they filmed like a couple, and it's like really interesting, and they went for it. And there's things about it I really like, and things that I feel like, it kind of like a little too close.
Sure.
Like you can feel that it kind of fucked with the show a little bit.
what's interesting is he was also, I kind of associated him with the trajectory of hoodie guy to suit guy.
Yes.
And it's not a surprise to see
Now he's
him
back to t-shirt guy.
Yeah, but it's like, clearly in the sort of PR movement of what he had to do was like strip it back and just be the
raw.
hang. You got to hang out with Aziz again and get to know him again. I feel like let's move over to Bo Burnham to kind of close this out because he's been sort of the glue.
Okay, really quick.
Yeah, any other honorable
There's
mentions?
so many. Zach Galifianakis live at the Purple Onion.
Oh my god, I think
Ari
also,
Shaffir's Jew is like the perfect example of like what a self-made special could look like on the really high end.
I just want to live at the Purple Onion. I think is also just one of the best.
And that's that similar like intimate. And they shot those all. I had these cameras, the Panasonic.
So close to the wall, like you mentioned, but why does this work and why do others not work? I don't know.
I think because some of those are like side angles. Also, there's like texture in the room. You see the crowd. You see the camera guys in this special. And
that's
it's,
a great point.
So alive. And you know, they
Was there
just
some
sit,
handheld in this too?
It's all handheld.
That's what it is.
Handheld
it
makes
feels a
the
little
special
stolen.
feel expensive.
A
And feels
locked
stolen.
off camera in a small room feels with like a flat with no depth feels kind of cheap, but if it's small and it's all handheld,
The one I directed, it was 3 locked off cameras and one guy with a monopod.
this
of the
angle
audience.
too also just
Yeah.
feel like you're just sort of like it's a documentary.
Yes. And it was made by the same guys who made the Comedians a Comedy documentary.
Oh, which is fun. That was really
great.
fun.
The George Carlin, we didn't even talk about like the old school ones. The day of what city you're in, you're going to build a giant set about that city, like the New York background set, or
Oh
there's
my God.
the Richard Pryor. This is like we're doing
if we
one
go
of these
long
a
on this,
year,
I could
we're
talk
going-
about this for another hour.
Yeah, that's fine. The Richard Pryor, we're gonna go big. There, like I got the Richard Pryor New Orleans one
These
in here.
big sets are so funny to me because they like it kind of works, but if you did it now, it would feel so
Cheesy,
yeah,
because.
not hack, but just cheesy. Like, oh, you didn't need to do that.
Yeah, like the Lucas brothers. Let's just put up some cool pictures of fucking Richard Nixon and talk about how we hate Richard Nixon. The good version of all of this is the Adam Sandler 100% fresh. He shot it in all these different places, and he went from small, tiny comedy club to big theater.
Didn't Chris Rock do that too? Where he was
Chris
in
Rock
Johannesburg.
he did one all around the world, and that one
They
feels
intercut it.
feels more Kill the Messenger.
the Messenger.
That one feels more disjointed. Where this
Yeah.
feels like you're just getting to see Sandman be Sandman, and I love the blank, leave it raw background.
This
really
works
well.
really well for me.
Yeah, and it goes from there to the giant theater. Also, see, Madison. They shot parts of it at like Dynasty Typewriter. You know what I mean? Like they
How many locations total, you think?
Probably like 8.
Wow.
10.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
But it works. It all flows so well.
And there's
Eddie-
some video stuff.
Yeah, there's video stuff. There's the Eddie, Suzy Izzard, Dressed to Kill.
Yeah. So wait, let's pop over. Oh my god. I mean, we have some similar ones of just like this is.
I love the fucking fit is sick.
Which, by the way, hold on, wait. I do want to talk about Suzy Izzard's special Dress to Kill because this is, I think, maybe the most stylish special I had seen at that point in my life.
At that point in time, it probably was.
I'm sorry, the typography looks like a fucking Daft Punk album.
Yes.
It's so goddamn cool.
Yeah.
It had this, oh my God, what's his name?
It's like very 1980s pop art.
Oh, it's killing me. I always forget his name. It's Neil Richard something or other. It's the fucking guy.
Yes, the one who did like the Duran Duran album cover.
Yes, I always forget his name. But it's so stylish. You got this cool lighting. Their outfit is just very cool.
Yes.
This is a very I think it was so sticky because it was so stylish. It wasn't like a dude in a brown suit.
100%. And also it was like, this was my first experience ever hanging with somebody like this.
Yeah.
And like,
A trans person was probably my first introduction.
yeah. And like explaining it in a way that was fucking hilarious and making it all like, hey, this is just real chill, guys.
And isn't that just so great what comedy can do? It can just like shorts. It can just slip through.
Lewis Black, who we haven't talked about on this episode, none of his specials look great. I put a still or two, but none of them do. Lewis Black, Eddie Izzard, Chris Rock. That is where my perspective on life comes from. like this person's, I'm cool with this person. Fuck the Bush administration. Bullets.
It's all there.
Bullets should be more expensive than guns.
Is that whose bit is that? Is
Chris
that,
Rock.
That's been in my head for decades, and I couldn't remember who.
Cat.
Uh,
Yeah, like
Jerry just like very very classic. I mean, like
you see the
uncharacteristically cool marketing image,
Beautiful.
for like,
and you see the roots of Mulaney, where the Mulaney came
you're
from.
completely right. Okay,
And the Ronnie Chang.
let's. Oh, I put Connor O'Malley on here just because.
Oh,
like,
Connor,
like-
the long-time improv buddy, partner.
It's like a low budget self-made special, but man, does he! It all makes sense for the character.
Yeah.
Sure, it's just like a projection on the
If
screen.
I had to put money, I would say Joe Pera probably directed it.
Probably. Everything like he delivers on the premise of
I
what he's
didn't even
making
know
so well.
Connor did that. That's so cool.
This was really good. It's
I'll watch
psychotic. It's
Yeah,
so
he's-
obviously.
He was one of the funnest people to do improv with ever.
Okay,
You
let's-
want to talk about Inside?
I want to talk about
Oh, Make Happy?
I want to talk about Bo
What?
in general.
Love it.
So I'm gonna unfortunately go on record saying this. I straight up did not like Bo Burnham's comedy until Inside, and it's not because I think he's a bad comic. The clips that I saw were unfortunately, and I'm wrong on this. I'm on the record. I'm wrong. I'm wrong on this.
I think most people our age, Bo is younger than us,
Yeah.
saw that and was like, that is for kids.
It was theater kid energy.
Yes.
He was-
Which I run from like the fucking plague.
Holy shit, yes. So I only saw clips, and I saw like big goofy like self-referential songy
Yeah.
stuff. It felt very gamey.
Yeah.
It felt like a Disney Channel version of Reggie Watts.
Yes.
And it was not for me.
Yes.
Really not for me. And some people like he's incredibly talented. I think there's also part of it like he's so young, he's so talented. I was like, fuck this kid. And that's me. That's a me problem.
I understand that. Can I say something?
Please, on this
kind of felt
podcast, you can. I'll allow it.
Thank you.
The microphone in front of you is yours.
Thank you.
Literally, it's yours. You brought it.
It is mine. And the new stands today, so you can see our faces. The fucking that I sent you a clip last night at like 2 a.m. while I was doing my screen grabs. There's a clip of Bo Burnham on Paul Provenz's The Green Room, which is a show where a bunch of stand-up comics sit around in the round, surrounded by audience. And there were just cameras everywhere. It's a really cool show. And Paul Provenz is this like comic who's been around forever. And Bo Burnham's on an episode. And he's on the episode when he's 20 years old with Judd Apatow, Mark Maron, Ray Romano, Gary Shandling. Like the all-time heavy hitters of like success and cool.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
we're like, and Bo's 20 and Paul had him on because he was really impressed by him. And they're talking and Bo's like saying like, I'm 20. I don't think my opinion actually counts. He was like, I don't think I know. And it made me like go like,
Yeah.
oh, this kid's really smart.
I've seen that
And
clip.
then he goes, hey, do me a favor, play your song Art's Dead. And he goes over and he plays this song called Art is Dead. We'll link it in the show notes. And it blew me away. And I went, oh, I'm wrong. This is undeniable talent.
Yeah.
Undeniable self-aware, incredibly smart. And then I got on the Bo Burnham train hard, and then I dived into all of these specials too. And I think I saw Make Funny first, and then what? And I was like, genius.
So I co-sign on all this. And here's okay. Inside came out, and it was such a fascinating thing that he made here for 100 reasons, right? So I do want to analyze Inside and what like works about it. But as I was I was just going to talk about this initially, just Inside. Then I was like, well, I'm like, oh, he's this like kid that got like, he was like corny and then got like serious and cool. Let me go and go get the old stuff so we can see the trajectory. And I was just watching just the first few moments of both of these specials. And immediately I'm like, oh fuck, it's always been there.
Yeah.
It's always been there. And
Yeah.
I've been an asshole about this and I've been wrong. And his taste has similar to Mulaney, where it was like the product of like what I want to say, or the pieces, like I think about myself in like my 20s and my 30s of like, again, of like this sort of bucket of pieces that I like, well, they don't fit together, but they're all in a bucket. So that counts, right? This is what I am, as opposed to like actually assembling the thing that I am. In Mulaney, you can kind of, everybody in their 20s and 30s, if you're creative, you're making like things and you're presenting yourself as a person, as a public person, as a product. You are hoping these pieces fit together, or hoping people can look over the missing pieces, you know? I see this with Bo's stuff, right? Of like, he's very goofy and he's having a lot of fun, but...
and I'm pretty sure Chris from The Bear directed all of these.
I mean, I thought going to this, the title and font choices were going to be goofy, but everything is this stark presentation of like a simple, weird font choice.
I mean, that's old school computer.
This definitely, but the way it's just a black card with the title. And I thought it was going to be something really goofy with no, make happy is the same fuck you type of bones and all and have it all. It just bam on the screen.
Yeah.
And the way he plays with light and the way he frames things, uses light to shape what the bit is doing, where he wants to go with the bit. And
Top-notch theater kid shit.
yes,
It's
absolutely.
It's Spalding Gray. It's Eric Bogosian. It's like, hey, I'm doing self-referential comedy. Third time's the charm. It's comedy. But also it's like very deep, and then I'm also gonna like kick it away.
Yeah. And so now with kinder eyes, I look at Inside, which is a fucking achievement.
I will say two things about Inside. I've only seen it once, and when
I had to watch it in 2 sittings because it was too emotionally exhausting for me.
I watched Rothaniel, and then I watched this, and I can tell you...
You went right to therapy?
No, I can tell you this. I didn't connect with this, but I was like, this is a great piece of art.
Yeah, undeniably.
You know what? I was like, this is not for me. This is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But it might just be the thing I viewed before it, where I was in my life at the time. I do need to rewatch this because I know people are obsessed with it. Also, look at this. Look at all these frames. Look at that font. Tell me this isn't a horror movie.
Oh, it's A24.
Yeah.
This is Helvetica. It's probably medium weight. It's red. It is a horror movie, to your point. Absolutely. He's dealing with the horror of loneliness.
Yeah.
And also finally looking at himself for the first time.
Yeah.
I would say it's that introspective, but the framing of this, I mean, he's like, the idea of horror movies being like, you're trapped in the room with a monster. This is about,
I am the monster.
He's trapped in the room with himself, and that's the monster. The number of setups, what he uses
Crazy.
for like with lighting and framing things, it's incredible and
immaculate.
I wish I was smart enough to find a way to land the plane here, but there's something about, I think, Bo's comedy works. I feel it works better with no audience. I think this works better with no audience.
Well, he started out making videos at home by himself.
He's like a YouTube kid, or like super early.
He was
right?
the YouTube,
YouTube
comic.
kid.
He was the first YouTube comic.
I think this version of him, I don't think this would have worked. Clearly, wouldn't have worked with the audience because the premise is not as such that it would.
And also, he talks a lot about how he has really bad anxiety, and then he was like fighting through it and was just about ready to be like, okay, I can go out and tour again.
Yeah.
Like crippling.
Oh God,
can't
yeah, I
go
remember
on stage
that.
anxiety.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened, and he made this,
which is just incredible. The world built.
Yes.
By this, and I think, you know, as we kind of land the plane on like this conversation, which I could do for another 2 hours.
For another 2 hours.
Like, I feel like this comedy specials that are really successful in creating something that is more of elevated than a premium blend than getting 3 comics to shoot in one day.
Yeah.
Is a sense of world building, which is cinematic and like a director.
And that's what
it's impressive it's impressive we live at a time now when comics have the leeway to do that.
Yes, because the equipment's cheap enough they can, and they have the taste and the enough of an audience. Like my next one, I do want to be that like cinematic. I don't know what it's gonna be. I have like ideas for like stuff, but I want it to be that like.
I'm so
personal
excited to
interface.
see what you start the mood board you make for your next special.
I mean, half of the slides are on this. It's just I'm just gonna beg Chris Stoner, however you say his name. I should probably learn how to say his name to direct it. Yeah. Zoom out. Let's see if there's anything we missed.
There's
And
so
like
much.
all this stuff that Bo's doing is like what I want my podcast with my wife to look like that background colors, make it look 70s. We got Kat, we got Eddie. We didn't even talk about the Don't Tell thing, which is the modern day version of.
God bless him. God bless Stu and Tell for providing the.
They're the new Live at
showcase.
Gotham. They're
Yeah.
the showcase, and they've changed so many people's lives. The Norm ones. Oh, we didn't talk about Raw, one of the greatest comedy outfits of all time.
Yeah.
There's Nick Thunes. Love you, Nick. Just a nice, well-made, self-produced one that they produced thinking they'd sell. Oh, there's the Rothaniel credits.
Yeah, look at the typography on
That's
Nathaniel.
fucking perfect.
Beautiful. His eyes sneaking by. It feels like a glossy magazine spread on him.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
It's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
what you want. And
I
then,
love it. And I think
I love where comedy's at now.
it's so cool that comedy, guys like us who have always thought comedy is like the stand-up special alone as an art form is something worth putting on a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But actually treating it visually as a piece is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And also that funny people don't feel like funny people can have taste. I feel like they were mutually exclusive for a long time.
The 90s version of like, it was the bros shitting on
Oh
the cool young guys, and all the
Yeah.
cool young guys with taste are now the older guys making the cool looking specials.
That's a very good point.
Slide across the boards to the other side quick. There's the Ari Shaffir and the Comedy Club one. Zach Galifianakis. Yeah, I think we kind of got into most of these.
We cover. I mean, this is
Old David Cross on HBO. Yeah, there's nothing that I'm like, I think the Ari one is a good example. Look at the credits sequence for Ari's. Go all the way to the right. Oh, you know what part of that too is? I also want to give Ari Shaffir credit for, I think there is the Ari Shaffir one.
that's fun.
That's fun. And then the other one is like maybe like 2 over.
Oh, these candles. That's a cool set.
The set is just a giant room full of candles. And then
Oh, look at that. That's beautiful.
it's beautiful and so well done. But if you zoom out just a little bit, little more, that prior outfit's great.
yeah.
We didn't get too much into the fashion, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Slide over, up a little more. Okay, see that one your hand's on right now?
This one?
Yeah, scroll into that.
Is that Swartzen?
That's Swartzen on Ari Shaffir's Storyteller show.
Oh yeah.
This is not happening. And this is when I feel like people were making smaller things themselves. And Ari did this show where he's like, you want to tell a 15-minute story? Tell a 15-minute story. You want to tell a 20-minute story? He goes, some of them will go on YouTube. Some of them will go here. And some of these blew up. My friend Doug Smith's story about stopping a rape and getting slashed with a box cutter got like 200 million views.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible. And they shot this at Cheetah's Strip Club. And this is the, look at
That,
the,
I
how
remember
good
the opening of this sort of smeary animated thing was very cool.
Every episode they did like this crazy short film where there's one like him waking up, making out with an alien. It was like the guys who directed this were like a pair of brothers who Ari was friends with.
Oh, cool.
A Segura one, Comedy Dynamics. That's Don't Tell stuff. Like,
Don't Tell is great, man.
yeah.
Call it there.
Sure.
This is great. Thank you for going down this very windy, deep rabbit hole.
Yeah. This is a weird and fun one for me.
I realize I think about it constantly, and it's been something that's been cooking in my brain, and I'm so excited we get to talk about it. Do you have any things in your personal mood board right now you want to recommend before we bounce?
Oh fuck. What would be my recommend? Lola Young's new record. It's so good. I put it
I've
on
heard
my
that name.
Yeah, I put it on my top 5 of the year. I would say that. Go listen to the song "Messy" by Lola Young.
Ooh. I should have brought it out. What I want to recommend is my son for Christmas got this thing called a Yoto player, YOTO. It's basically like a little Sonos speaker.
Oh, cool.
That it's
you buy these like little, like it's like a credit card. You buy like a little piece of plastic card. There's 100 billion of these different cards that you can put into the slot, and it'll play like audiobooks or music. It's physical media for children.
Oh, cool.
It's so cool, this fucking thing, because it has a screen on it with like 100 pixels, so it's not super stimulating.
Yeah.
He has like a Headspace Sesame Street go to sleep thing, and it's made bedtime a lot easier. And then you can kind of grow with it. You can get like Beatles albums on these cards. You can get the entire Harry Potter audiobook series on these cards. It's so cool for kids to have this way to like
that
enjoy.
Is incredible.
It's really cute. I highly all parents, Yodo player, free ad for Yodo players.
That's
Absolutely
awesome.
recommend it.
Oh, speaking of plugging stuff, I don't know when this episode's coming out, but Valentine's Day weekend, I will be at Dead Crow Comedy Club in Wilmington, North Carolina. If you want to come see my new hour of stand-up.
Oh man,
Which is like pretty damn dialed in. I don't know when this one's coming out, but
I wish I could go see it. I will have a
baby.
2-week-old.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah, I want to plug. If you want to come see me at my house,
Bring diapers.
and if you want to make dinner, please swing on by.
Yeah.
Start a meal train. Anyone who's following us.
Thank you for watching our longest episode ever. If you're still here,
Oh my gosh. 2025.
3-hour
gonna see.
episode?
Yeah. We're gonna see how our first video on YouTube performed after we got off of this.
yeah.
This has been great.
Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you're this long in. You're probably subscribed. I don't know if subscribe actually does anything. It probably helps. When we hit 1,000, I think we can make money, and then we can pay somebody to edit this.
Oh man, it'd be great to make money.
Please subscribe so Jesse doesn't have to edit this, and
all
so
right.
I don't have to learn how to edit.
That's an awful lot of all this. Thank you, buddy. It's great seeing you.
You too.
I'll see you real soon.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about when we're recording our next one directly after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll figure this out. All right.
Bye.
Bye.